It was 1927, and China was in flames. Warlords were fighting, and there was a man called Sun Yat-sen who wanted to solve this problem. He laid down the fundamental groundwork for his successors to finally unify China. Afterwards, there were two groups in a pickle after Sun Yat-sen died. One group called the Kuomintang, led by Sun Yat-sen's successor, Chiang Kai-shek, who managed to fully unify China with a northern expedition. On the other hand, there were the communists, who was led by this guy, called Bo Gu. Enter Chiang Kai-shek. He tells the communists, "We're friends!" because they were both kicking out warlords together. When suddenly, Chiang Kai-shek betrays them. And thus, the Shanghai Massacre happens, where Shanghai is redecorated by his surprise attack. Thanks, Chiang Kai-shek. Not all of the communists were killed though. Major figures, like Mao Zedong and Zhou Enlai managed to escape. Zhou Enlai escaped to Hong Kong, whilst Mao Zedong escaped to Jiangxi. Zhou Enlai then led an uprising called the Nanchang Uprising, and Mao Zedong led the Autumn Harvest Uprising, which leads directly to the creation of the Jiangxi Soviet as a safe haven for the communists.
But then suddenly, their safe haven was ruled by the nationalists.
And the communists knew they needed to get out of there fast.
So they initiated a retreat plan called the Long March, aimed to escape from nationalist grasp. The Communist Army has about 86,000 soldiers, and for some reason, the nationalists just let the communists go. But why?
That's because the communists had actually made a deal with the defending general.
Which is what allowed them to escape. The communist forces planned to join with another communist force up at Jiangxi.
But something unexpected happened.
Came the Battle of Xianjiang River, which killed over 50,000 communists out of the original 86,000.
This is as the relate to the Sanji Conference, where Mao Zedong effectively took control of the party,
Mao Zedong suggested to go westward.
where he crossed a river 4 times to shake off the nationalist forces. The Long March succeeded as they reached a safe haven in Jiang'an.
But only 10,000 survived.
Uh-oh, it's the Japanese! And they're here to beat China up.
And the Kuomintang had to ally with the communists to defend Japan, but Chiang Kai-shek wasn't willing. Yeah, no.
These generals kidnapped Chiang Kai-shek so they could stop fighting the communists.
And thus began an alliance between the communists and the nationalists.
And the ultimate, or what seemed the ultimate. Hiroshima was 41 years and 8 months after Kitty Hawk.
Japan was nuked by the US, and over 200,000 people died from the blast.
World War II ends following the bombs dropped by the US. The two groups continued fighting after World War II. The communist forces finally came out on top after 2 decades of fighting, and they kicked out the nationalists onto an island called Taiwan. Now let's see what Mao thought of Soviet industrialization. Now what did Mao think of this? What if we did that, but faster? So now come with Mao's plans of the Great Leap Forward. He told everyone to melt their pans, their forks, their farming equipment, all to make industrial level steel.
Now, this sounded great and all, but what Mao Zedong forgot to take into account
is that these were peasants with no skills, no metalworking experience, no industrial furnaces, had no idea what to do.
Entire villages were filled with useless lumps of metal by peasants following Mao's steel plan. With so many peasants away from farming, it caused the Great Chinese Famine, with over 15 million people starving to death. Mao Zedong was politically sidelined after this disastrous famine. And Mao definitely did not like getting sidelined. So Mao initiated the Cultural Revolution, aimed to destroy the Four Olds. Ancient historical sites? Gone. Political officials? Gone. Culture that has survived 1,000 years? Gone. Intellectuals? Also gone. These were the Four Olds Mao aimed to destroy. Mao didn't enforce these rules with the military. No, he enforced them with fanatical teenagers that did everything he said. They purged political figures such as Deng Xiaoping, Liu Xiaoqi, and more of these names that you definitely do not know. Then the Cultural Revolution abruptly ends with Mao Zedong's death, leading to Deng Xiaoping coming into power. And China's economy was carefully rebooted after everything caught fire. He initiates the reform and opening up policy, which quickly makes China one of the most prosperous countries in the world.